Hi kids! I found out that Minecraft's cool again, so I made my own Minecraft sword. It's purple because they need like a new timeline, and there's a bow and arrow, and it's an enchanted bow and arrow, and it's purple, like a pinkish purple. So I think it's safe to assume purple means enchanted, and it's also my favorite color, so this was perfect excuse and anyway, this is what it looks like. And if you want to see how I made this, just keep on watching. So we're going to start by making the pattern, and for this I just used an old piece of cardboard, and I'm just using a Google image of a Minecraft sword to design a pattern, and I just basically decided how big I wanted it to be, and I'm just building the shape from there, making sure all the squares are placed according to the reference image. And this is what my pattern looked like in the end. So now we're going to take the pattern we created before and trace it onto some insulation foam. I'm just using a normal pen, and I taped down the pattern to the insulation foam to make sure it doesn't move. Traced the sword pattern onto the insulation foam board twice, and now I'm going to cut it out using an X-Acto knife, or maybe you call it like a Stanley knife or a box cutter. I've heard so many names for this, but it's basically what I'm using right now, as you can see. Yeah, just make sure you have a sharp blade, and if you are a child, please just get an adult to help you so you don't hurt yourself. So now the first half of the sword is done, and I'm just moving on into the second one. And I just want to say, you will really want to try and be as perfect as you possibly can on this stage, because the cleaner your cuts are, the less time you're going to spend sanding it, as you're going to see afterwards. That is it. The base shape is done. And now we're going to move on to assembling the base of the sword. I'm just using 2 chopsticks glued together, but you can use like a PVC pipe or a wooden dowel to reinforce your sword, the inside of your sword. But I'm just using the chopsticks because I like reusing stuff I've already got at home, and I'm just making a little channel in the middle of the sword to make space where I can later fit the chopsticks in. I first tried to glue it with PVA glue. You have to be careful with insulation foam because it melts with certain glues, but PVA glue wasn't strong enough, even though it doesn't melt. Also, the channel wasn't big enough, so I had to go over it again, and then I ended up hot gluing the chopstick dowel thingy that I made. And yeah, it took a few attempts, and this part just shows a little bit that I had to go back and forth a little bit with this step, but it's okay. For the rest, I just used the trusty PVA glue because it's just what I rely on. So now I'm just securing the sword together with some tape and some pegs so it can dry in place, and I'll be back tomorrow. It is the next day and I'm just going to check to see if everything's completely dry, and if that checks out, you're good to go. You can start sanding, and I'm just going to use normal sanding paper, which is really cheap and safe to work with. Now you can see me going in with my Dremel just to speed up the process and do it quicker, but you definitely do not need a Dremel to do this. You can just do this with sanding paper to save yourself some money, or if you are a child, I obviously don't recommend you using power tools without help, or if you have no experience at all. So the sanding paper gives you a lot more control, and I still used it a lot. Right, so now we're going to start the mosaic part of the sword, which instead of just painting the squares on it, I decided it would be nicer to actually cut out multiple squares and paint them and then apply them as, you know, as the Romans did with the mosaics. It's basically the same idea. So yeah, nothing original or new here, just me trying to get a perfect sample square that fits perfectly with the pattern and that I can replicate a few times. I can't remember if these were like 50 or 60 or something squares. It's not that much though, it's doable, trust me. as you can see, I've got a lot of squares now, and I'm almost ready to start painting them, but this video is getting really long, so I will come back next time with part 2 where you'll be able to see me painting and finishing the sword. It might take me a little while to edit it because I'm doing a master's at the moment and I've got a lot of coursework to do for uni, but I will put the second part up eventually, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!